Hello, everyone, and welcome to another installment of TEDXcellence, the show in which I learn day by day how to learn better, I guess. And I come to you live from my Corona bunker on the moon with Dogcat Fox, a Pepperjack, and all of you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Saturday. Schoolhouse Saturday or something. Hope everyone is doing well. It's been a pretty nice day so far. Spent some time with my sister, hung out, had some breakfast, caught up on things. And here I am now with you, all of you, to learn about the phrase authentic learning. Specifically for this presentation, authentic learning as a vehicle for change. This is a phrase I don't believe I've encountered before, which is odd because when I was prepping the video today, I found references to it in several places over several years. So I'm kind of surprised I hadn't heard this before. As far as I know, I mean, I've done a lot of videos on different things in education, but when I saw the word authentic, man, you know, there's nothing I love more than authentic something, because it usually means that everything I thought of prior to learning about the authentic version of something was all some kind of lie. So I'm very curious to find out what authentic learning is as compared to all of that, you know, deceitful and deceptive learning. But before we get to that, let's say hello to those of you who've decided to join me on this educational journey of discovery and revelation. What's his Facebook whatnot? Hello. Jaeger Pony. Hello. Hayden Lott. Hello. Sean Uli. Hello. Kiever Dan. Hello. St. Michael. Hello. Havoc Vladimirovich Stalinov. Hello. Seftis Wolf. Hello. Killer Turnus. Hello. That one servant of Satania. Hello. No Name. Hello. Dina B. Hello. You're a ridiculous lunatic. Hello. Mr. Tickle Trunk. Hello. Ryan. Hello. And then chat jump because of course it does. Eric Grunstadter, hello. Thrashy, hello. Jim Beam, hello. Advocatus Diaboli, hello. Jeanette E. Hellis, hello. Corey Suzuki, hello. Zeke Weiss, hello. Lycan King 018, hello. Crimson Tiger, hello. Spider-Man, hello. Leo Prime 75, hello. Mike Savage, Blarg. Frosted Glass, hello. Zalba, hello. Lexi Mads, hello. The Luke Skywalker 2, hello. Officer Buck, thank you so much for the... How's it going? Guy. I haven't seen that one before. Is that a new one? Let's see. Taslim Hassan, hello. Is it Taslim or Taslim? Taslim Hassan? I don't know. Johnny Stoffel, thank you so much. Pushing for Change sounds more like TEDXcellation. Ooh. TEDXcellation. That should be a series of their own. That sounds pretty good. And then chat jumped. I apologize, guys. Mr. E, hello. Brad Young, hello. Lancelot 652, hello. Ecto Merc, hello. Let's see. Demon Man 57, hello. Scientrology, hello. Gulf City Peterbilt Confederacy 379, hello. All right. Hello, everyone. Saxon Ross, hello. One more before we go. All right. So we're going to get into this. The running time for this is somewhere in the neighborhood of about 14 minutes. Now, I do have to warn, at some point about 3/4 of the way through the video, our speaker cuts to a musical number done by elementary school kids, like for some kind of play or presentation or something. There's no commentary to it. She might tell us what its relevance is before and after the segment, but I removed it completely because A, it might be music that's copyrighted for all I know. And B, YouTube is very sensitive about content that includes children in it where the videos are not marked for children. It's a long story. It's new rules they've implemented in time since the whole COPPA thing happened last year. I don't have time to go into it, but as far as I could tell, it is irrelevant to her presentation, save as some kind of quasi-example. So when we get there, I've put a little card in place that just tells me to skip over it. That's the only thing that's been edited out of this video from the original. If you would like to watch the original in its entirety, a link to it is in the description below. Also, be sure to have your TEDx bingo card ready. Link to that is also in the description below, and we'll see if we can get some bingos out of this one. Thank you. This is Kyle. Hello, chat, Pete and Scribbles. Hello, Kyle. All right, and account deletus. No, it hasn't started yet. It's about to right about now. You guys tell me if you can hear this, and then we will continue.
Isn't it amazing that an entire oak tree is sleeping in the tiniest acorn?
Okay, that sounded vaguely creepy, but okay. Isn't it amazing that the biggest oak tree is hiding in the tiniest acorn? I mean, I guess it's kind of a matter of proportionality, but sure. Thank you, Killer Turnus. Gonna play Surviving Mars while listening. Ooh, I heard that game was all right. Its quasi-sequel, Surviving the Aftermath, is a post-apocalyptic city management game, and I've watched that slowly be developed over time. There's a couple of those out now. There's Surviving the Aftermath. There's also one called End Zone that is suspiciously similar to Surviving the Aftermath, but either way. Let's see. I can hear it's a Cephas Wolf. Sounds good, says everybody. Okay, thank you guys so much. Advocatus Diaboli, why does this woman look so familiar? I don't know. I've done a lot of videos. So far as I know, I've never done one with her, but I might be surprised.
Like the acorn, we must be fed and nourished, awakened and enlightened to grow, mature, and find our way.
All right, that's the analogy we're going for. All right. Planting the seed, the card says. For those of you who are listening as a podcast or driving home or something, she has a little picture up that is of acorns titled Planting the Seed. So,
when I meet my students' parents in September, I ask, what do you want for your children? What do you want to leave this classroom knowing, thinking, doing, and being? They offer their sincere hopes, and I make a promise to do everything I possibly can to guide their children on the journey to fulfill these dreams.
Okay. Well, I'll be glad first off to say that this is one of the few educational TEDx's I've gone into where the parents are prominently featured, at least in reference at the beginning. Doesn't often happen. All right. So what are their dreams? Well, I want my kid to learn the basics: reading, writing, arithmetic. Now, are their dreams, oh, I hope you teach them to be a great activist for change? Is that a common request, I wonder?
As educators, that's what we do.
Yeah.
Our intentions are pure and true.
As educators, that's what we do. Our intentions are pure and true. Now, let me tell you about my friend, Shamu. Oh, sorry, I was going off into a poetic aside there for a second. Thank you, Corey Suzuki. What if a squirrel steals the acorn? I don't know. What happens if someone steals your potential? Are there any squirrels in this analogy? Let's find out.
We envision the healthy oak tree making its way from seed to sapling and beyond.
Mm-hmm.
But we encounter obstacles that often make it difficult for the seed to sprout.
Like, man! I'm thinking of like Fern Gully or something, you know? I'm making a Fern Gully reference. Now, if you haven't seen Fern Gully, watch James Cameron's Avatar. Save you a little time. Or if you haven't seen Dances with Wolves, also watch James Cameron's Avatar.
Many students enter class the first day of school with heads down, little energy, and no motivation to begin a new academic year.
Really? I mean, I guess it depends on the student or the school, but I always remember being, well, two different things at the start of a new school year. Either I was excited because, you know, I was in a good mood about school or wanted to see my friends again, or I was nervous, trepidatious, or sort of like, I miss summer break or something. But usually I'm relatively excited. You know, I kind of liked school, mostly. It ground at times like so many other things, but the first day of school was very active. You know, there was a lot of running around and getting your bearings again and seeing where you're going to sit and getting everything ready and prepping your desk or whatever else, depending on what school year you're in. But okay, most kids are all dour and heads down, and okay, if you say so.
They're sad. They're angry. They are disconnected.
They're sad and on the first day of school. I mean, if they're going away from their parents for the first, angry on the first day of school? I mean, are we just talking about the loss of summer break or something? That's not what happened. What happens in your school? The kids show up the first day sad and angry. Okay, I backed up a little bit because
a new academic year. They're sad. They're angry. They are disconnected. They feel lost. Yet we as teachers are expected to trudge ahead with the curricular focus, adhering to prescribed guidelines and timetables, knowing that this does not serve the best interest of the children in our charge.
How do you know that? And also, you're expected to do those things because it's your job. But okay, so the academic curricular focus is inadequate, you imply. So what is the better alternative?
We must connect with them, establish trust, and foster genuine relationships in order to provide what they really need.
Oh, okay. Well, if you are in a grade school situation where kids aren't having to change classrooms every hour or whatever, then it is technically easier to have a more focused relationship with your class because they're going to be with you the entire school year. So getting to know each individual student is easier. And depending on how personable you are or how highly trained as a teacher you are, you could conceivably make a, personal connection with each student. And so far as I can remember, most of my teachers did in the initial years of my education. So, and that was long before whatever you're going to talk about right now, I'm assuming. You have some difficulty doing this, or what? And like, what was I'm trying to think, what was ungenuine about any relationship I had with a teacher growing up? I mean, it's not like we were best friends or anything, but, I had really good teachers in elementary school that I, visited. Like if I was in fourth grade and I saw my first grade teacher walking around, I might say hello and that kind of thing. All right. Well, I don't know. What is the better way to connect with your students compared to any other point in history?
If we don't, we crush the hopes, dreams, and possibilities of a bright future for so many of our young people at their earliest stages of growth.
Oh, you are so important. You are so important to the development of a child. God, you are the center. You are the sun. You are the moon. You are the middle of the Milky Way galaxy to every child's sense of self and dreams and everything. They don't have any agency in it. Their parents don't have a role in it at all. You are so important for that single year. You might be their teacher for a few hours a day, 5 days a week. Boy, oh boy. Yeah, don't get an overinflated sense of self or nothing.
We can change the extenuating circumstances our students face in their lives outside of school, but we can and must think about what we do in school and how we can be part of the solution.
The solution? Oh, and then she clicks to a slide that says a broken system. Okay. Again, what you do in school is your job, or what you're being paid for, I should say. I'm not quite sure what you see your job as, but I'm sure you'll tell us.
School systems around the globe struggle to educate students in a way that will produce responsible, empathetic, resilient problem solvers who enter the workforce and make the world a better place.
Is that really what the school systems around the world are supposed to do? I mean, I guess technically, and you hope that, each person's going to exit school and go into the workforce and at least not be a burden on society, let alone to make the world a better place. But I don't know. When you start getting into qualifications of, well, quality, make the world a better place, by whose metric is the world supposed to be a better place? Productive, workers, informed, educated, so on. Yeah, those are all very good, relatively neutral notions. Better?
It's what we all want, but don't achieve.
Oh.
The universal focus is short-sighted and misaligned.
Oh, okay.
Where is the deep meaning in what we offer our students?
I don't know.
Many times, Curriculum is delivered in isolation,
Yeah.
detached and unengaging, intended to prepare students for testing, but not relating to real life.
You can't simulate real life in the classroom. It doesn't matter what classroom you're talking about. Real life is far more random, far less structured, far less scheduled than the classroom. So I don't know what expectations you have elsewise for the classroom and preparing for real life. You give, as best as you can, students the tools necessary to cope with what real life might throw at them in work or, in those parts of life where it's applicable. But it's really going to end up on the individual's shoulders after you're out of the equation. So
in many classrooms, little that students are asked to do makes sense to them or connects them to something meaningful.
Conceivably, until it becomes relevant in context. Right? Like, I can't count how many times something that I learned in school that seemed irrelevant in my life became relevant for that 1% of that one day that I needed to know it. And for other people, maybe that thing that I thought was irrelevant became vital to their careers. School gives you, or should give you, a very, very large tool chest, at least in general studies and so on, so that, things you encounter in life, you might have, the right screwdriver for when you need it. It's not an end-all be-all. It's not a panacea for everything. But anyway.
They ask, why am I learning this?
Yeah.
And when the content is far too difficult to understand, they turn away from instruction, the teacher, and the academic institution.
Well, that sounds like a personal choice on their part, doesn't it? This is too hard. I give up. Okay. So
they give up.
Yeah.
School is not for them.
Oh, school in general or just that subject matter? Wow, that's a big leap.
Marginalized populations are especially vulnerable to this fate.
Okay, well, that's the first one that I heard that really clicked. So on to the bingo card, we circle free space, and we circle marginalized marginalization. All right, well, while we're here, let's go over the bingo card and see if the first 3 minutes of this has marked off anything else. Make something about race, sex, etc. reason. Not yet. She hasn't mentioned either. I mean, you could say marginalized, but that's already its own square, so not going to do that. Mind reading assumes motives. I mean, she generalized about students, etc., but I'm going to give her some more time. Plays victim. She's not playing the victim, at least not yet. Equity, no. Word salad. I'd be surprised if we didn't get there. Self-vilification or wretchedness. If she starts talking about herself in the derogatory as a white woman, we'll do that one for sure. Now, attempt to coin new buzzword or buzz phrase. Now, here's the difficulty I have. Authentic learning is a new buzz phrase to me, but it's not a new buzz phrase in the world. There were videos on YouTube going back years talking about this, and I can't say that it's a new one. If she tries to coin something of her own in the process of this, certainly, but I'm hesitant to say that just authentic learning qualifies. So we'll see how things proceed. Feminism, no. Childhood or family anecdote, not yet. Benevolent condescension. Her last comment alone kind of sits on that, but I'm going to wait for more time to see if she says something else. Systemic institutional. Well, she talks about a broken system right here, so circling systemic institutional. And those of you in the chat that already pointed that out, appreciate it. I was just waiting for a good breaking point. Patriarchy, no. Contradicts own point or argument. Well, she hasn't really made one yet. Toxic, no. Privilege, no. Weightless example, not yet. Leaves out vital context, not yet. Microaggressions, unconscious bias. I wouldn't be surprised if we get there. Takes credit for something done or experienced by others in their demographic, not yet. White supremacy, not yet. Wage gap, no. A list, not yet. An anecdote that probably never happened, not yet. So far I have circled marginalized, marginalization, systemic institutional, and free space. We'll see where it takes us. Thank you, Lancelot 652. It's your job to help get the students engaged. And if they don't want to, you can't save them all. That's also true. There comes a point at which you can't, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. If a student actively decides not to be engaged, defies every turn, etc., not much you can do. And teachers can't fix everybody. They're not there to necessarily try to solve everybody's problems. Those that do probably aren't doing their job in a healthy way. All depends on the situation. But yeah, let's talk about student agency and how sometimes student agency can be to their own detriment. And you sometimes just have to accept that. Anyway, moving on.
We must focus on the purpose and process of learning. And the content must connect the learner to his world and to life beyond the classroom.
Uh-huh.
How do we unleash the potential of the individual student and get to the real learning?
How do we unleash the potential? Is it all on you? Is it not up to the individual to take the initiative, take the responsibility for their own education at a certain point? I understand when you're talking about small, young kids, you have to grab their attention. You have to keep them in line. They're all over the place. Their attention spans are probably like that of a gnat and so on. I get that part. But between the child and the parents, you mentioned the parents at the beginning. Are you going to mention the parents in the process of, quote unquote, unleashing the potential of the child? Are you going to talk about the symbiotic relationship that should exist between the teacher and the parents towards the education of the child? Because if you're going to just assume all of the responsibility and imbue yourself with all of the power over the child's development, you fall into the same category as so many other educators I've looked at before. And it's a very creepy dynamic.
We can see what gets in the way, but what feeds the acorn?
I don't know. And also, what gets in the way? You brought up marginalized students or something. You didn't expound on that. So you haven't explained the obstacles, but okay, tell me what feeds the acorn.
We should engage our students in ways that ignite a passion for learning, that enable them to turn on and tune in to life inside the classroom and out in the world.
Okay, with the understanding that every student is different, but all right, what are some boilerplate strategies for achieving these goals of yours?
Authentic experiences lead to meaningful learning.
Authentic experiences lead to meaningful learning. Okay, what qualifies as an authentic experience? And is it your authentic experience? Is it the students? What differentiates an authentic experience from any other kind of experience? Who determines what is and is not authentic?
When there's a desire to learn or a true need to learn something, we're motivated to learn it. Presenting curriculum for a real-life purpose just makes sense.
Yes, okay. If the teacher can take what they're teaching and put it in a context where the student can see its usefulness in real life and not just being told stuff to be told stuff, sure, that makes it more engaging for the student. If you can say, today I'm going to teach you about anthropology. Now, you might think this is all about boring old history and bones and stuff, but this is how we understand how we develop as a culture, as a society, even as a species. So let me show you the amazing story of Lucy, and go on like stuff like that. I mean, I had a really good teacher who, I didn't quite quote him there, but in general terms, he made anthropology really interesting. Really, really interesting. And he was a great teacher. And he got really excited about the subject matter. And he made his students excited about it. And he framed it all in a way that was interesting and engaging. So I can see the benefit of taking something that might be difficult to put into context in a usefulness or relevant way as a kid, but making it exciting for the kid. So sure, I agree with that sentiment. I'm not sure where you're going with this, though.
Why am I here?
Purportedly to give us a presentation on authentic learning. Oh, you were asking the more existential question. There's a card up that says, why am I here? Okay, I don't know. Why are you here?
What is my purpose?
I don't know.
Not only do students feel this way in school, many teachers do as well.
Many human beings feel that way as they go through life, trying to figure out your place in the world, purpose for yourself, something to dedicate yourself to, some inspiration. This is like asking one of those questions at the top of a talk. It's like, how many people here have worn pants before? You know, it's like, oh, well, now that we're all on the same page. Yeah, we all have existential questions about our purpose in the world. Congratulations, whether you're a child, whether you're an adult. Yay.
Helpless.
Yes.
Hopeless.
Yes.
Apathetic.
Oh.
Helping students find their purpose is necessary in promoting social and emotional growth.
You are not there to help the student find their purpose. Okay. Now, this is the first clear step into not your job territory. I mean, okay. All right. I'll back up. I'll be generous and say it can be a teacher's role to help a student find out where their strengths are. They can be helpful in that regard. Is someone really good at math? Is someone really good at language or writing? Is someone really good at music or art or something? Sure, maybe identifying those things and then advising the parents where their strengths are. So then maybe the parents can take an active role in seeing where their kid might fit going forward, or inspire that kid or encourage that kid. Maybe in small increments. But overall life purpose, is that where you're going? Because that seems a bridge too far.
8-year-old Abigail had so much going on inside her. She needed an outlet to express her internal struggles. During a writing session, when we were exploring the meaning of longing, Abigail wrote these words and shared them with her class.
The meaning of longing? I mean, and she hasn't said yet what grade she's talking about or what level of education she's working in. It sounds elementary school mostly, but okay. Thank you, Mr. Tickle Trunk. Sits quietly, pantsless. Who is this talk for anyway? Weirdos? It sounds like she's talking to other educators, maybe. That's what it sounds like. We as educators have to, etc. So it sounds advisory towards other educators. And now for those of you at home, she brings up a card that has, I'm assuming, the text of the poem written by Abigail regarding longing. I'm sure our speaker is about to recite it, so I won't bother, but here we go.
Longing is me heartbroken. It's as if I'm up in the sky and my tears make it rain. I flood the world. My heart has a big hole in it, and I do not have a lot of good time to fill it up. All my crying makes the hole bigger and bigger. I fall and never get back up.
How could this happen to me? I made a mistake. I'm sick of this life. How could this happen to me? Okay. I'm sure Abigail is a fine and upstanding young woman. That just sounds like the edgy kind of stuff that a teenager would write. That's all. And I was that edgy teenager at one point or another. I think we all were. Thank you, Picala the Driving Ape Man. She sounds like she's a special ed coordinator. Well, I guess it depends on your definition of special ed. But Officer Buck says copyright claim. Man, if I get copyright claimed on that, I did a lot better job singing it than I thought I did. But okay. Abigail's poem, Longing is me heartbroken. It's as if I am up in the sky and my tears make rain. I flood the world. My heart has a big hole in it, and I do not have a lot of good times to fill it up. All my crying makes the hole bigger and bigger. I fall and never get back up. Oh, Abigail. Thank you, Mr. Tickle Trunk again. Or is she the only teacher in the room and everyone in the room just considers themselves educators? I find that more likely. I'd be surprised if there actually is anybody else in the room. A lot of the most recent TEDx's and things are being conducted in front of empty rooms or very, very sparse audiences because of COVID-19. So given the lack of audience noise so far, it's either an empty room or there's only a couple of people actually there. I don't hold that against the speaker if they have, rules and everything because of the pandemic, but thank you, Lancelot 652. Oh my God, the angst, my wrists just slashed themselves. Okay. All empathy to Abigail. I'm guessing she's probably a preteen teenager. Anyway.
In that moment of sharing, Abigail realized that others felt the same way, that she was not alone.
You're right. Teenagers trying to figure themselves out, not being able to deal or comprehend the emotions and the hormones running through them, figuring out their place in the world, insecure, self-conscious, and on and on and on. It's part of growing up. It's part of awkward socialization for most kids. You're right. And it is helpful for kids at that age to understand that what they're going through is not some isolated event, that they're not alone in it. I will admit that, certainly.
Her writing encouraged the rest of the class to share their personal stories of sorrow and longing.
Is that really what should be happening in elementary school? And again, I'm only guessing. She hasn't told us a grade level that she's working at, but sorrow and longing and such, I mean, is it really the place in elementary school to start going over psychological issues with children themselves? Is that really the right place for it?
We need to change our way of thinking about teaching and learning.
Okay, well, first you have to tell us what is wrong with the current way of thinking, and then you have to offer us the alternative and how it is beneficial compared to the previous. You can't offer me a solution without articulating the problem. And so far, you have not articulated the problem, except that kids are angry and sad when they first show up to your classroom. I don't know if it says much about the kids as much as it says something about you, but all right.
We need to inspire our students by offering a meaningful path to learning through real world contexts.
Sure. Again, like I say, if you can offer a kid or a student or a classroom, I should say, context for what you're teaching them and how it'll be useful, you have a better chance of engaging those kids and making them interested in it rather than just like dumping it out there and not giving them any reason to care. You're pushing in an open door on that one. But at the same time, nothing of what you're describing sounds new or innovative. I had teachers doing that my entire life before any of these concepts were even put out there. So you're going to have to wow me to convince me of anything else. Thank you, Officer Buck. Is this an AA meeting or an English class? I was looking at my pepper jack when you said that, so I wasn't quite sure how to answer it first. You're talking about the meaningful poem. It sounded like a support group, didn't it? We can all share about longing. Like, is that really educational or is that psychological?
Creating an original opera is one way to accomplish this.
Whoa, what? Okay, for those of you at home, she just brought up a card that says, the authentic process, creating an original opera. All right, well, presumably now I will learn what the authentic learning process is, as I have no idea what it is prior to this.
Students spend an entire school year making their own opera.
Are they in a music school?
This creation process serves as an authentic vehicle to teach academic, social, and emotional skills.
An authentic vehicle versus a classroom setting where you're giving them assignments or other projects? Like, You really need to define what you mean by authentic. What is authentic in this context? Speaking of context, what is an authentic process versus, I don't know, your whatever you consider your standard educational process, which you haven't articulated yet, but I don't know what you're talking about. I'm getting ready to circle leaves out vital context, because you talk a lot about providing context to students for the things that you're teaching. You're not providing us all that much context. Hey, we're listening here. Thank you so much. I'd feel more comfortable having Benny Mardones hanging around children than most of the educators on TEDx. I don't know who Benny Mardones or Mardones is off the top of my head, but I'll assume it's someone undesirable. And yeah, a lot of the educators I look at TEDx and elsewise don't instill me with a whole lot of confidence if I were to have a child under their tutelage. And if you'd like to see more about the educators I've looked at over time, there's a playlist on my channel called Curriculum of Fear that I've sporadically added episodes to over time. I may add this one to it as well, just because it falls within that same category. And yeah, there's a lot to be concerned about regarding some teachers and their outlooks on education. But okay, on authentic process, creating original opera. What happens to the kid who's not musically inclined? Do they get marginalized?
Students form a production company.
Uh-huh.
They apply, audition, and work in jobs equivalent to their adult counterparts in the real world to produce a collective goal.
What? Okay, I know I keep bringing this up, but I'm really, really, really curious to know, and I think it's actually vital for me to understand, what grade level is she talking about? Is she talking about an elementary school where you have like one teacher for a whole year? And I understand that different schools do things differently, but when I was growing up, first through about 6th grade, you had one teacher for the whole year, and they moved on to the next grade and a new teacher and usually a new class. Not in my case, but that's a different story. And then junior high is when you started having different teachers for every hour. Are we talking about like junior high and upward, where like this original opera project was in one class and they had classes otherwise? Or, because this sounds like a very, very time consuming and involved process. Maybe it works for a single class hour per day, but I don't know what she's talking about.
The opera. Students are the proprietors of their learning, solving real-life problems on a daily basis. They make decisions that affect not only the opera process, but their learning for their lives.
Are they learning math? Are they learning history? Are they learning geography? I mean, maybe as a quasi-trade skill exercise, learning organization or conflict resolution, or I don't know, scripting and production and stuff. I mean, certainly there's plenty of useful skills to be gained from a project like that, but what kind of school do you teach at again?
Nothing is contrived or simulated.
Nothing is contrived or simulated. Okay.
This is real life.
No, it's a classroom setting. It is a controlled environment. You set the curriculum. You may give the students individual responsibilities in creating the end product, but it is a controlled environment focused on a very specific goal in a very specific sort of space. It's not contrived. Tasking your students with creating an original opera. No contrivance there. Okay. Let's see. Joshua Sager said, she said 8 years old. Okay, so we're thinking, well, like 3rd or 4th grade? I'm trying to think, 8 years old. How old was I at I was like 6 in 1st grade, so yeah, like 3rd or 4th grade maybe? Something like that? Is that where we're at? In 3rd or 4th grade, you task your students with creating an original opera? Are you setting aside mathematics? Are you setting aside spelling? Are you setting aside reading skills? I mean, some of those are going to come into play, I suppose, but I'm very confused. Thank you, Officer Buck. So she wants to teach them specific jobs that they may not choose to pursue rather than general skills that can be applied to anything. Okay. And again, being probably more generous than is deserved here, you can learn a lot in this. What she's describing, you could conceivably learn a lot of different things about organization, conflict resolution, problem solving, creative, whatever, technical. There's a lot of things that could go on in creating an actual opera, certainly. But I don't think that replaces the core education of reading, writing, arithmetic, etc. So she hasn't given us much. You know what? I'm going to stop dithering over it. I'm just going to circle leaves out vital context because she really has so far. Even if she starts explaining herself later, the fact that she's left out so much information up to this point is just very annoying to me.
Abigail wrote about longing because it was the theme of the opera, a theme determined by her class, the opera company, as they explored what was really important to them as a group.
Longing was important to these children as a group. Longing. And for those of you at home, she's put up a slide of a drawing, like a child's drawing of a logo, and it says Fire Starters Kids Orca Company. I don't know what that means. Kids Orca Company? Oh, sorry. Orcra? O-R-C-R-A. Orcra Company. Is that supposed to be opera company? Oh, okay. Sorry, guys. The letters are drawn in such a way, like the little spaces that would denote an E from a C are so small on this thing that it looks like a C rather than an E. I apologize. It does say Firestarters Kids Opera Company. Okay, that was my, yeah. And I think anybody watching live can forgive me for misreading that, but okay. Thank you, Killer Turnus, for the donation. No message. Appreciate it so much. But Killer Turnus says, the scribe light was trying to say that it's the parent's job to teach IRL situations, not a teacher. I mean, to a large extent, yes. But I don't fault teachers for saying, today we're going to learn algebra, and you might not think it's necessary, but here's the context in which it's going to become useful to you in your life. I mean, teachers providing context for what they're teaching to make a case to the students as to why it's important they pay attention and learn and so on. I'll take that. That's reasonable. Diverting all their attention to creating an original opera as though that's supposed to be in total a replacement for a rounded education, that I don't get.
There was so much loss in their lives that year.
Why?
Around this theme, they formed a bond that enabled them to process their feelings and experiences.
Why was there a sense of loss? That what happened? Did something happen? Was there some kind of natural disaster nearby, or what are you talking about?
They named themselves Firestarters Kids Opera Company.
So they're arsonists.
They were the sparks of inspiration.
Oh.
That would unite and start a huge fire to spread around the world.
Oh, did they do a gender reveal party? Is that, oh, too soon? Okay.
And ignite others in an effort to better understand themselves from the inside out, just as they themselves were doing.
Okay, again, and thanks to the observant members of my audience, you're talking about 8-year-olds? Is this really what they should be focusing on as 8-year-olds? Shouldn't you be teaching them like the basics of how to add, subtract, divide, reading comprehension, you know, the foundationary blocks of being able to move on to later grades and more complex subject matter? You're starting them off by making their own opera company. Okay.
Their original opera story,
Yeah.
A Storm Inside,
What?
illuminated the struggles and triumphs from their own storms in life.
They're 8. What storms do they have in their... Okay, all right. A lot of crazy things can happen to a kid in a very short amount of time in life. I know. I'm not gonna devalue that. But is this really your place? Is it the place of a... Well, okay, and also, I don't even know if this is a public education scenario. Is this a private school? I don't know who our speaker works for. But regardless, I mean, this sounds more private school or independent school than it does public school, but I don't know. Really? And you can say this is true of your entire classroom. They're all experiencing loss. They're all experiencing trauma or whatever. Is it really your place to delve into these things in a classroom setting?
Camilla was a performer in the opera company who, like everyone else, faced her own internal storm.
Okay. I'm going back to the bingo card and I'm thinking, is that assumes motives mind reading? I don't know. I mean, she's talking about her own classroom, so I have to err on the side of caution and say that she has especially after she said everything else, a relatively intimate knowledge of what's going on with her kids. So I can't say that she's making assumptions. I could say that she's projecting, but I'd also be guessing there too. Anyway.
My storm inside.
Oh, okay. Okay, this doesn't seem to be a performance. It seems to be a recording. I didn't catch this when I was doing the editing, so obviously this is a child reciting something.
My head is burning. I'm spinning around. Lighting is burning me. 2 strings are pushing me.
What?
I don't know which way to go.
Uh-huh.
I tried, but I couldn't understand.
Uh-huh.
Flowers are dying.
Wow.
Blue turns into gray.
Uh-huh.
My heart has no reason.
Oh.
I'm feeling guilty.
Uh-huh.
Trees are falling.
Trees are I know. He's talking about trees. Blue turns into gray. She's got her history wrong. It was actually the North that won the war. Unless we're talking about like abstract, like defectors or traitors or something. Now, I know. I'm taking her words and imbuing them with a meaning that isn't actually there. I don't know why that notion suddenly occurred to me.
No paradise. I'm falling through the skies.
Uh-huh.
I am so alone.
Oh.
I feel left out.
How could this happen to me?
First, I got up, then I go down.
Oh my gosh.
My storm.
Yes.
Only mine.
Yes.
The mistakes I have done are all over me.
You're 8. Your mistake. What are they doing to these kids? Holy cow.
Camilla says, my heart has no reason. Going through daily social and emotional experiences with fellow company members helped Camilla process her storm inside.
She's 8. I mean, okay, I don't know what this kid went through in the 8 years of their existence prior to this point, but on average, are you really going to say that an 8-year-old has such psychic trauma that they need to go through a opera company to let out all of their demons and everything. Really? I mean, oh, okay.
And find her purpose for being.
But she's 8. She's not going to find her purpose for being at 8. She probably wants to be an ice skater or a princess or Black Widow or something. What? Come on.
As a society, we are devastated by the growing number of children and teens who are affected by school dropout, depression, eating disorders, drugs, gangs, pregnancy, and suicide.
Holy cats, that's a progression. Wow. Thank you, Mr. Tickle Trunk. When I was 8, I was still picking my nose and punching the girl I thought was cute. I wasn't in rehab while going through my second divorce. I know, right? Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. You don't want to necessarily talk down to children if you want to get them to relate to you and vice versa. But at the same time, they're children. Thank you again, Mr. Tickle Trunk. When I was 8, I wanted to be a transformer. I know, right? Who doesn't want to be situated on the top of a power pole distributing electricity to the neighborhood? Right? Oh my God, teen pregnancy, suicide, drug use. Wowie, wow, wow. Right, dog, cat, fox? Wowie, wow, wow. I know, right? Holy cow.
Systemic racism and poverty, societal ills that significantly impact the human condition, greatly contribute to this broken system and to students' availability for learning.
Okay. Going over to the bingo card, make something about race, sex, etc. for no reason. That came out of nowhere. So circling that one. Mind reading assumes motives. I'm circling mind reading assumes motives because she is imbuing these children with thoughts, concerns, traumas, intentions, and so on that just, I mean, don't get me wrong. There are plenty of precocious and beyond their years 8-year-olds out there, I'm sure, but no. Sorry, don't buy it. Plays victim. She's not playing a victim, not yet anyway. What do you know? Word salad. I think in aggregate by the end of this, I'm going to be circling word salad regardless, but I'm leaving it blank for now. Self-vilification or wretchedness. She hasn't downplayed herself yet. Attempt to coin new buzzword, buzz phrase. Not so's I'd notice, but I'm waiting. Feminism, no. Childhood or family. She hasn't talked about herself. Benevolent condescension. I'm still sitting on the fence because of her initial talking about marginalization, etc., kids and things. We'll see where that takes us. Patriarchy, not yet. Contradicts some point argument. I don't know what argument she's made yet. Like, you need to put kids into non-educational scenarios. Okay, well, maybe not non-educational, but non-classroom scenarios is more authentic learning than classroom scenarios or something. Toxic, no. Privilege, no. Weightless example. She hasn't actually made an argument or given us an example yet. Like, this is what authentic learning is. Now let me give you an example. Unless we talk about the opera company thing. And the problem is she hasn't defined what she hasn't defined what authentic learning is, so we can tell whether or not the opera thing is a good example. And that leaves out vital context, which I've already circled. Microaggressions, unconscious bias, not yet. Takes credit, no. White supremacy, no. Wage gap, no. A list, no. Anecdote that probably never happened. She hasn't given us any anecdotes that I don't think happened. I mean, she had the girl read her own poem. Granted that she wrote the poem herself because she mispronounced a bunch of words that presumably she herself chose, but regardless. Okay, moving on.
If we shift our thinking and how we approach education, we will be taking preventative measures to minimize the mental health crises and societal ills that manifest in our young people and plague us as a society.
Whoa, now that is a big claim. Wow. Okay, so again, what are the teaching methods that are so harmful? You need to describe those. And then you need to describe what authentic learning is as an alternative and how it addresses those things. Because if you don't do that, you have failed at your argument.
We need to give our students the tools and strategies needed for mental health wellness.
No, 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 no. You need to give the students the tools and strategies necessary to succeed in education. Their mental health, their psychological well-being, while you may serve a small role in that development, in positive reinforcement, education, grades, and so on, that is not your role. You are not a psychiatrist, psychologist, one or the other. You're not a therapist. You're not a counselor. I mean, you may wear many hats as a teacher, but seeing to the psychological health of the child, you are at best a canary in the coal mine to advise the parents. And that's it. Am I off base here?
These skills cannot be taught via textbook or curriculum manual, but must come from an authentic classroom culture where their application is required for learning to happen.
Okay, for those of you listening, she's put up a card with a list of things that so the card is called Essential Skills. So let me read these off to you, and I'll back up a little bit to have her say that again in context to the card. Excuse me. Essential skills: collaboration, communication, initiative, patience, motivation, perseverance, making mistakes, critical thinking, God forbid, humility, flexibility, consciousness, public speaking, risk-taking, organization, creativity, independence, empathy, self-expression, responsibility, resilience, and confidence. So these are the essential skills that it is up to the grade school teacher to instill in their students. How do you measure some of these abstracts? Is it the teacher's responsibility to do this? Is it even within the teacher's power to do this? Okay, I've backed up a few seconds. Start again.
Skills cannot be taught via textbook or curriculum manual, but must come from an authentic classroom culture where their application is required for learning to happen. Such skills give root to academic achievement and allow students to flourish.
Allow students to flourish. Whether or not a student learns perseverance or becomes comfortable with public speaking and so on, it's pretty much up to them, their own psychology, etc. You can't inject these things into a student. Life will do that. And the single year of time you'll probably spend with these students is, I mean, just a fraction, a tiny fraction of the experiences and the life lessons and everything else they're going to be doing that's going to develop those skills or not develop those skills, depending on the person. This lady imagines her role as so far beyond reason, it seems to me.
We're often afraid of storms.
Uh-huh.
Yet storms are necessary.
Uh-huh.
Storms present unique opportunities to see the future.
Okay, is it a time storm? I mean, I've seen those in Star Trek before. Are there tachyons involved in this storm to see the future?
Wind and rain toss, turn, and scatter the seeds, the acorns.
Oh, we're back to the acorns.
That will one day become giant oak trees.
Uh-huh.
There is so much in our students' lives that they cannot control.
Yes.
We must give them the autonomy to drive their own academic, social, and emotional journey.
We need to give them the autonomy. I'll just say that again for those in the cheap seats. We need to give them the autonomy. Got it.
There will be setbacks in life.
Oh, really?
But knowing that they can control their attitude, their effort, their perspective, and their approach to the difficulties they face makes a difference in the kind of people they will become as adults.
Sure, if you can instill a kid a positive attitude and an attitude that isn't entirely defeatist and so on, or help to instill it, I should say, great. But you are an elementary school teacher. You aren't a life coach. You aren't a parent. You're not responsible or even empowered to somehow shape these kids into perfect human beings. That's not your job. Your job is to provide them the tools necessary at stages incrementally in life in order to learn how to think. Not what to think, but how to think. Here's how you do math. Here's how you read. Here's how you can comprehend what you're reading, and so on. Like I said before, and I'll probably say 1,000 times afterwards, a lot of these teachers imagine themselves in a far, far, far greater place in these kids' lives than I think is healthy. And the parents, if they allow it to occur without any intervention, without any oversight, etc., are putting the development of their children in the hands of ideological zealots. It's very disturbing. Thank you, Saxon Ross. Was that a storm or the wormhole aliens again? Well, you know, I don't see our speaker as the emissary, but then the wormhole aliens can be fickle.
As we come to understand ourselves better
and
recognize the barriers that constrain us,
yes,
we begin to understand others as well.
Oh.
We must help our students sow the seeds that not only benefit themselves, but will also serve the greater good.
Oh, God. I wish... Can I upload that right now? Hold on. Sorry, guys. I wish I had this prepared. I didn't know she was going to say that. So now I have to wonder, can I, on the fly, during the course of this stream, do this? I think I can. Oh, I can.
Oh, come, Sergeant.
You should be ashamed. Calling yourself a community that cares.
Oh, but we do care, Nicholas.
It's all about the greater good.
The greater good.
I can...
Okay, the greater good. That is disturbing. That is disturbing.
Another class named themselves Let It Out Kids Opera Company.
Let It Out Kids Opera Company. So the first one was the Firestarters Opera Company. Now it's Let It Out. And for those of you at home, again, there's a child's rendition of a logo. Circle, it says Let It Out Kids Opera Company. And in the middle, it's got a kid holding up a broken heart. And above that broken heart are the words fear, anger, sadness, joy, and mistakes. I have no idea what school this lady works at. I have no idea how they treat their kids. But all of this is very, very disturbing when thinking about it all in the context of 8-year-olds. Thank you, Lancelot 652. An opera song by the lovable Dr. Cox of Scrub for her. Quote, wrong, 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 you're wrong. Right, wrong, or otherwise, this is disturbing. This is getting more disturbing.
They realized there was so much going on inside them that needed to come out in order for them to grow. Their opera story...
Wait. Did they understand this, or did you tell them this? This goes back to what Satsu was saying the other day when we were looking at that video about raising children in an unjust racial world or whatever. And when somebody says we need to have them understand, etc., i.e., they need to tell the kids how to think about things, what to think about things, not how to think about the world, but what to think. I made my children understand how they have loss in the world or something. I mean, this sounds creepy. I'm going to back up again because I cut her off.
They realized there was so much going on inside them that needed to come out in order for them to grow. Their opera story revealed that need and what happens when we're unable to open up and let things out. And the result, when we finally do, let it out.
Okay, I'm circling benevolent condescension because she's talking about assuming that all of these kids are inherently ill inside and need to let it out. Obviously so. Obviously these kids have all these pent-up worries, anxieties, fears, loneliness, loss, and so on. And it almost seems like, and I might be stretching here, she might be taking advantage of the natural progression of emotional development in children to make some kind of comment or make some kind of conclusion about the nature of them as people. I mean, when kids are in the development stages of life, when they're trying to figure out their emotions, their bodies are changing, their socialization is developing, and so on. If you want to classify that as something where they're inherently flawed rather than just they're kids who are growing up and you're going to make conclusions or tell them how to interpret what's going on with them in a way that makes you feel good about their development, that's creepy. That's really creepy. Okay, and now, as the card says in front of you and for those at home, this is where she cuts to a musical number done by kids at like an elementary school or something. And again, I don't know if the music is copyrighted. I'm not jazzed with having out of context footage of children doing whatever they were dancing around and stuff. So I just took it out. But she shows a clip of kids singing at like some school function or something. What that means to her argument, I don't know. Presumably she will tell us after the clip ended. And like I said, I cut it out and I've just skipped over it. So there's just a card here that says elementary school musical number. I'm going to let it run past it. It's only, I shortened it down to just a couple of seconds. So we'll move on pretty quick here.
This authentic learning experience serves as a vehicle to problem solve in real time. As you saw in the video, when students were confused in the song, performers and composers kept moving forward and eventually found their footing together so that the message would be delivered.
Okay, now I wish I'd kind of played the video or at least watched it. I didn't actually watch it myself, guys, so I can't even inform you about what it's about or how it applies to this. It does sound a little contrived, doesn't it? If she put the kids in a position where they're going to be stumbling over the song, isn't that kind of like setting them up for failure or something? I don't know. Again, I'd have to watch it. I wish I had. I apologize for that.
Through reflection, we learn about ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Our sense of confidence and courage build as we find our place within the group.
Uh-huh.
We belong.
Yeah.
We learn to speak and write freely, expressing ourselves as we discover our voices.
What if they wrote or expressed themselves in a way that was counter to your teaching style? What would happen then, I wonder? She's put up a new card. It says, the other side of the canvas. The other side of the canvas no one sees, so turn it over, let it out, and see where it leads. Was she a poetry teacher of some sort? I don't know.
We learn to make mistakes, to fall down, to persevere and push beyond our failed attempts and perceived limitations, knowing that making mistakes and accepting imperfections is real learning.
I mean, accepting the fact that you're going to make mistakes and then doing your best to learn from them, sure, that can be a healthy outlook, depending. This is one of those moments where, like, I feel like I'm being Trojan horsed into something, right? Somebody says something that is patently agreeable, and then I wonder where it's going to lead me.
We pick ourselves up
Yes.
and are ready for what is to come next. We are resilient.
We can be. Not everybody is. It's valuable to have the skills necessary to see what is and is not worthy of worry or defeatism and so on. Sure. Okay. Not sure what I'm agreeing to next, though.
What we don't see in the video behind the canvas is the entire company working interdependently in their jobs with no adult help to bring the story to life.
So you abdicated your responsibility as the educator and just let the kids run the show by themselves? You didn't provide any guidance, any correction, any advice? Why do you draw a paycheck again for those days? Thank you again, Mr. Tickletrunk. Continues to sit pantsless, feeling left out. Well, you're just a unique snowflake, Mr. Tickletrunk. You know, I saw a video when I was in college. It was a linguistic video. It was talking about how some deaf kids in a school, I think in Argentina or something, they were left to their own devices, and as a result, they developed their own sign language in the absence of any guidance. It was brilliant how these kids created their own language. And in there as well, there was a segment from George Carlin, who said something very profound and has always stuck with me. He says, the beauty of language is that I can say something right now that has never been spoken by any human being on the planet in all of history. And then he just rattled off like 5 or 6 random words. And he says, at no point in history has anyone ever said those things in that combination before. I've just made history. The fact that Mr. Tickletrunk just told me that he continues to sit pantsless, feeling left out, I'm pretty sure that's never been spoken out loud by any human being in history. I feel very privileged to be able to say that. Thank you, Saxon Ross. In solidarity, I shall identify as pantsless, contrary to how I appear. Again, I feel very privileged to have marked this moment in history as having said out loud words in combination that have never been said before. Moving on.
Nor do we see the hallway exhibition highlighting students' work over a 9-month period to show their process of learning.
Nor do we see, and then she shows us photographs of gigantic murals and presentations taped to the walls of the school. And the one I'm currently frozen on is, at the top, it's categorized as metaphor. And underneath this, besides pictures of the students, and I'm guessing comments or quotes or otherwise, there's a list, a sort of white easel page list of things. What do the mask and eraser have in common? They hide mistakes. They are soft. They are fragile. They hide who we are. They have color. They are still. They are bright. They help with learning. People make masks because they don't want us to see them. They erase because they don't want us to see their mistakes. What kind of school does she teach at? Let's see. Kiever says, speaking of that, have you circled a list? You know what? I haven't, but I'm going to, because all in all, each slide in succession constitutes a list of different points she's presumably making. So yes, I have circled a list. We've got about a minute and a half left on this.
But it doesn't have to be opera. When learning comes to life and is connected to real-world experiences, students' academic, social, and emotional aptitudes integrate naturally and logically in the context of authentic work.
I'm going to call that word salad because she still hasn't defined authentic anything as compared to generic whatever. Thank you, Lady Gopher. I'm late. We'll watch the first half later. It's something to behold. I'll tell you that. Thank you, Lady Gopher. Okay, authentic opportunities is the slide in front of us.
No matter the vehicle, we must inspire curiosity, interest, and passion in our students as learners.
Sure, you can shoot for that goal, and I appreciate teachers who make the effort to get students interested, to set the context, and so on. I've had teachers who are very good at that, and I appreciate that, sure. And yet again, I feel like I'm Trojan horsing into something.
When 7, 8, and 9-year-olds convey profound messages that seem way beyond their years.
Yeah, when 7, 8, and 9-year-olds convey messages that seem way beyond their years, might you have to ask whether or not you're projecting onto them or you're eliciting from them what they think you want to hear? Do you have any notion of how hard some kids work to please the adults around them who are very perceptive as to what will get them positive response? Are you sure what the kids are telling you are coming from them? Or is it a reflection of you?
People listen. For the first time, students can feel, see, and understand a world beyond themselves.
Oh, God, you are such a wise and enlightened shepherd for these poor little sheep.
And empathy is born.
Right. Oh, empathy. Yeah, you know, the foundationary block of human compassion and civilization. Gosh, you know, prior to your involvement, those kids didn't possess empathy. That's all your responsibility. Man, oh man. Thank goodness you're there to birth empathy from these 7, 8, and 9-year-olds.
So, we open the world to our students and give them access through relevant, veritable experiences, and they are transformed by being part of something bigger than themselves.
Transformers, roll. No, I suck at that.
These are the production manager's final words to her company on the last day of school.
Okay, and for those of you at home, there's a third logo for a third opera company that says Harness the Stars Kids Opera Company. So first you had Fire Starters, then you had I forget what the second one was all of a sudden. Might be the Pepperjack. Now you have Harness the Stars, which sounds vaguely Lovecraftian to me, but then I'm biased. And then there's also a written letter from someone named Manuela, dated June 12th, 2015. And I'm assuming our speaker is about to recite what is written on this letter.
June 12th, 2015.
Yes.
Manuela.
Yes.
So today we say goodbye, for today is our last gathering as Harness the Stars Kids Opera Company. In the beginning, we had a rare spark that no other company had. Our intelligence came together and took us far beyond what we know. And finally, we've landed in a land where nothing is impossible. When we leave this class, we will plant a seed in someone else until we change the world together. Sooner or later, Miss McGinn will start hearing that Ryan solved cancer, Star stopped global warming, and Natanya is reducing CO2. Ms. McGinn will say, "These are my kids," in such proudness. We are expected to do good in the world. We need to show who we are in 4th grade. Don't let negative thoughts collide you, but let positive thoughts change your life.
Manuela sounds like a very astute child with a very good vocabulary. I also believe that, like so many kids, She's not being dishonest, but certainly she is writing for her audience. Now, how far do you think our speaker is going to reach back to pat her own back on this one?
I leave you with this reflection by Tigist, a former student who is now 23 years old.
Okay. I don't know if she's going to read it in 4 seconds, probably not. The card says, quote, "It pushed me to go out of my comfort zone. I learned to believe in myself. It has changed me and shaped me to who I am now. Tigist, 2nd grade opera, 2004 to 2005, now 23 years old." I don't disbelieve it. I am concerned, though.
Thank you.
Okay, and into that. All right, let's go to the bingo card real quick. What haven't I circled? Plays victim? No. Equity? No. Self-vilification or wretchedness? No. Attempt to coin new buzzword, buzz phrase? I might have to hear arguments on that one. Feminism? No. Childhood or family anecdote? She didn't talk about herself. Patriarchy? No. Contradicts own point or argument. She never made an argument. She never actually told us what authentic learning is. I mean, unless you want to take the opera example, what is that? Why is that authentic? What does that mean? Toxic? No. Privilege? No. Weightless example. Given the fact that she never defined for us what authentic learning is, the whole opera thing means nothing to me. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Microaggressions, unconscious bias, not really. Takes credit for something done or experienced by others in their demographic. No. White supremacy, no. Wage gap, no. Anecdote that probably never happened. I mean, in each instance that she quoted a kid, she provided evidence of that kid's effort. So I'm kind of inclined to not say that she gave an anecdote that never really happened. Everyone, I apologize. I need to pause for just a minute. I need to step away. I've got a text on my phone I need to answer real quick. So in this brief intermission, if you have any arguments for other squares that need to be circled, actually, let me put this up on the screen for you guys to consider real quick. Sorry about that. This is live TV, so this sometimes happens. It's not very regular, but once in a blue moon. So there's the card as it currently sits. I will be right back, guys. Just be a second. Okay, apologies for that, everyone. Just one of those real life things that occurs, and I wasn't prepared for because I didn't write bad poetry when I was 8. Actually, I probably did write bad poetry when I was 8, but I don't remember. Anyway, going to the chat for any comments or observations before we wrap this up. Let's see, Mystery, we're not going to get a bingo out of this one. She was too vapid and shallow in her point. That is my thinking as well. I can't honestly extrapolate much else from the bingo card this time around, but like I say, I'm open to arguments to the contrary. So if you have any arguments, let me know. Johnny Stavel Scribelight, next time give us holding elevator music at 4 kilohertz. Yeah, I don't have something prepared for a I'll be right back. I should probably cook something up like that. I will think about that for the future. This happens so rarely that I didn't think I'd need something, but obviously it may occur from time to time. So there you go. Kieverdam, I circled attempt to coin buzzword buzz phrase. I mean, she certainly enforced a buzzword buzz phrase, and she said it enough times and extolled its virtues, even though she never explained it. So in that regard, you know what? All things considered, I will give you that one. It's not going to change much, which is why I don't feel too uncomfortable doing so. But there you go on that one. Let's see. Yeah, because like I say, authentic learning, I hadn't heard the phrase before. I still don't know what it means. So there you go. Account deletus. Depending on how far you are willing to stretch the meaning on anecdote, I really doubt most of the opera companies are real. Those looked like actual drawings from children to me. That letter looked like it was actually written by a elementary school kid and so on. I don't doubt that this school has done that. All those photographs of what was posted on the hallways and so on, I think that all happened. Whether her interpretation of what the kids were thinking and so on is, I guess, questionable, but I don't doubt that this is actually something that she's promoted and done year after year after year. I also don't doubt necessarily that the kids learned something from the experience. But the motives and the goals and the intentions she listed off as she proceeded were very bizarre to me. Very worrisome. Let's see. And then chat jumps because, of course, it does. Let's see. Kieverdam, at least you didn't forget to turn on your mic in the beginning. Yeah. No, I've hopefully learned my lesson on that one. That one serves Titania. Now the card is not question mark anymore. It's a magnifying glass. Now the card is not a question mark. I mean, it serves as both, doesn't it? The bingo card. I mean, we're analyzing the talk in retrospect or live to see how it fits, but I think in the process we also learned something in trying to go over the points that were made or not made, as the case may be. Let's see. Mystery. I'll tell you right now, authentic learning means to indoctrinate children to believe things that are outside their understanding and likely complete bullshit. It sounds more like I'm going to be a very special teacher by teaching the magical way of thinking, and anybody else who is teaching anything besides what I'm teaching is in the dark ages. This is the advanced. This is the latest. This is the cutting edge of teaching, and I am a evangelist. Thank you, Pepperjack, for this new and better way of teaching. Even though I'm not going to tell you what it means, even though I'm not going to tell you how this opera thing actually feeds into it, I'm obviously more advanced and enlightened than the rest of the teachers I'm advising. It seems more like an act of pseudo-academic masturbation than anything else. Let's see. And Cress Pierce, self-vilification. The education system which she is so humble at working in is so bad, and only she has the answers. Well, that's not self-vilification. That's self-aggrandizement. That is, she has the answers to the broken system. She's putting herself above. She's not vilifying herself. She's not making herself a wretch. She didn't say something like, I, as a white woman, have no idea how best to teach children of color or something. She didn't go down that route. So, sorry, Chris Pierce. Nice try. Doesn't quite make it, unfortunately. But regardless, everyone, I think that's where I'm going to call it. I mean, I learned a little of something. I can try to sort of reverse engineer or extrapolate what authentic learning might mean from her examples. Sounds more like alternative learning. Instead of a classroom, I'm going to put you into a working environment to learn some basic skills. To me, that seems like a waste of time when you should be using that formative energy of a 7, 8, and 9-year-old to drill into them the basics of reading and arithmetic and geography and history and those basic building blocks for a better education going forward. I can see the value of some kind of work experience, some kind of teamwork exercise. But making the whole of the school year, which is what it sounded like, into an opera company, it's so specific and bizarre. And her intentions and her sense of her purpose in the kids' lives was so overblown. I really have to wonder as to whether or not that's a healthy way of going about it. But regardless, everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you so much for your participation. Thank you so very much for your generosity. I really do appreciate it. If you would like to hear more from me or the Ranting Monkey or Satsu 2 Cents, you can find all of us tonight on Ranting Monkey's channel at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern for The Lords of the Night, where we will talk about the news of the day, news stories you submit, what we've been up to on the internet, and then your questions and comments. Everyone, again, thank you for coming, helping me along in this. It's been a bit of a slog, as some are. No bingos, but hey, last time we got more than our fair share, so I don't think we're doing too badly. Or was it last time? How many have I done since then? Privilege loss. Look up privilege loss if you want to see a cavalcade of bingos. Anyway, guys, I hope you are all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon. And I'll talk to you on the next one. Take care.